Hello there. Welcome to week 9 in our Fit to Flaunt challenge. We've got one more week and that is it. This week is near and dear to my heart for several reasons. First, because it's on mothering, and I do believe the power of mothering will change the world, not only in mothering kids or people or animals, but in mothering everything. Dr. Gertrude Lyons is somebody that I met 2 years ago, and her work all revolves around mothering and mothering businesses, mothering relationships, and I'll just let her explain it in her program, but it's really about the concept of mothering and how through our mothering, we really mother ourselves, which is so healing. Because even if we had amazing childhoods and really good, competent parents, we still all need that support and that mothering around ourselves and all the stuff that we have to do on a daily basis. So I'm going to start with a clip from Flaunt, Drop Your Cover and Reveal Your Smart, Sexy, Spiritual Self. And this section of the chapter is called Aprons and Pearls, Spit Up and Sweats, and it's about mothering. The birth of my second child brought with it the realization that I was being lied to, both by society and myself. Society told me that women could indeed do it all. All I had to do was lean in, be bold, talk about taking on more at work, be bold about taking on more at work, structure my time with my children clearly, and be proactive about planning date nights and self-care, and the world would be mine. But the truth is, no woman, let me rephrase that, no human can sustain that level of superwoman intensity, constantly managing, planning, and rushing around without sacrificing herself and her experience and enjoyment of life. Instead of questioning the message fed to me by society, I'd perceived myself as the failure, and I was done living that lie. So with that, I am going to bring on Dr. Gertrude Lyons. I'm going to screen share. Hopefully I can get this to work. I will bring on her presentation and prepare to be amazed because she is phenomenal.
So I'm super happy to have you there. But you came to improve your life, to enhance, whether it's for your leadership, for just some nourishment, to help you reach your goals, to live your dreams, and to be in a community of women. I want us all to congratulate ourselves and congratulate the women around you for wanting more out of life and going for it by being here tonight. So look around, look on the grid and wave and say, high five as we can in this format. High five, congratulate, because it really is awesome. And you know what? We just embraced the power of our inner mothers. Just by acknowledging, congratulating each other, and celebrating ourselves. That's what we're going to be with tonight, because this is a journey of the feminine, a journey of us, because we're going to equate and notice that, our mother really is living to the feminine value. So I'm going to ask a few more questions. How many of you personally would like to feel more empowered in your life? You can raise your hand. You can also type yes in the chat anytime you want to. How many of you want to recognize your unique I know I do. Who would like to take care of themselves better? Me. Who would like to make a bigger difference in the world? And who would like more connection, more support, more intimacy, and more love? Me. Yes, I want all those things. Well, what we're going to discuss tonight and be with tonight leads us to these results. But also, I'm going to ask a couple more questions. How many of you want to feel more confident and self-assured? Okay. How many would like to feel more focused and not get so distracted by so many things? Well, to that one I say good luck, because sorry, but those are not your natural gifts. And by focusing on them, you may miss maximizing the use of your unique properties as a woman. Those are not the gifts of the feminine. Not that some women aren't good at them, but it's not what the feminine brain is designed for. And they're gifts that can be developed, but not a natural gift. So we're going to talk about that tonight and talk about where that, supports us, but where it also trips us up. But lastly, I think most of all, let's underline how many of us want a world that works for everyone? I do it. Okay, great. Well, as you just heard me talk, I was talking about masculine and feminine. So I want to pose a disclaimer to that, because I will be using that word a lot. But what I'm talking about isn't man-woman. I'm talking about masculine and feminine qualities and values, of which men and women both share. It's just women and our brains and our physiology allow us, we have different gifts, all right? Men and women, we have different gifts, but we want to look at them from the standpoint of qualities and values. And if you need any clarification along the way, because I might say male and female, but if I ever do, I'm really talking about the masculine and the feminine values. But please adopt that for tonight, and we can keep exploring that further in other ways. Another assumption I want us to hold for tonight is I want to make it clear right from the start is that this conversation that we're having tonight is for all women. I know the title is Embracing Your Inner Mother, so hopefully that made that clear. But I want to underline, a really key point through all of this, which is that all of us as women, we all mother. So each of us has the capacity to conceive, create, give birth to, yes, children, but also ideas, careers, relationships, dreams, ideas. We mother in our world. What we're going to talk about tonight is what gets overlooked the most in our mothering, which is ourselves. So how many of you could use a little more help mothering yourselves? I know, I can. All right, always. That's why I do this, because it helps me. So what my intent is tonight is to bring more awareness to our feminine power. And this is especially important if we want to embrace our inner mother. I think we really need it now. We've always needed it. It's sorely needed in our world, but now more than ever with what we're going through. And I want us to really come away with how important we are as women, that you are as a woman and that we are as women. So if you can come off and mute and say to yourself and the women around you, you are so important. All right, so come off mute. And on the count of three, we're all going to say, you are so important. 1, 2, 3. You are so important. Yes. Well, awesome. I know that. But if you just said that to all these women, that means they said it to you and you get to believe it because it's true. Okay, so you are all important and we are important. I want to step back for a minute, and as we're getting started here, I want to acknowledge, the work and what I get to present tonight is all research-based and, from my studies, but, really give just huge thanks and credit to Drs. Bob and Judith Wright, the Wright Foundation, who are dedicated to supporting us all in unleashing our potential. And with the human emergence technologies we have, both at the Wright Foundation and the Wright Graduate University, which offers master's and doctoral degrees in transformational leadership and coaching. And I especially want to underline and thank Dr. Judith Wright, the founder of SOFIA, Society of Femininity in Action, because it's this curriculum that's empowered me through my work in developing myself as a feminine leader and has been foundational in my doctoral and mothering work. So in absentia to them, a big thanks, but also, recognizing the source of a lot of what we're going to be with tonight. And then I also want to say that, of course, I would love everybody to be here through our whole evening. And as an incentive, we are having a raffle at the end. So we're going to raffle off fabulous prizes, some books of Dr. Bob and Judith Wright's books, and a free coaching session with me. So I look forward to that. And it's also a way that once we get things rolling here, we can see ways that you can keep your work going for yourself. All right. So let's dig in a little bit more. I want to find out a little bit more about why you're here and what drew you here to be here tonight. So I'm going to give you a second to just look at and put in the chat, and then we're going to say a few of them out loud. What drew you to being here tonight? What inspired you to get on Zoom tonight for our meeting that's on Zoom? And just, throw some things on the chat, and then in a second, you can come off mute and share them. Well, thank you, Shireen. Wanted to listen to me and my wisdom, so that's pretty sweet. Just how hard this last month has been is what drew Nora. The pandemic has asked a lot from Renee, and it's been a struggle to maintain a sense of self and find time for me. Learning how to mother myself, Habiba. Jamie to learn from me and reconnect, yay. Looking for ways to lead and lead myself first. Doing something for myself, taking my space and time amidst the feeling like going. Oh, that's beautiful. Shireen's been incredibly stressed and having trouble getting expressed. Mary Kate, MK, to learn from me and the group on how to continue to be my best self and to be my best self to myself and my loved ones. That's awesome. These are beautiful shares. Thanks, everyone. Well, I think we're all in the right place because that's why I'm here too. I'm here because it's so nourishing to be with you all. Yay, we all passed that test. Isn't that awesome? But I'm here everyone's hearts, and also just how hard it's been. And, I could cry just thinking about it, for myself, but knowing some of you, but even ones that I don't know, I just know it's hard. It's hard for everybody. And this thing about taking time for ourselves is really a big deal. It's really challenging. So we're going to look at that. So let's start taking a look at what does it look like to mother yourself and really embrace the power of your inner mother. So we're going to do a poll. And in this first poll that Robin's going to put up here in a second, there's going to be a list here. It's a multiple choice. And you're going to select from the following ways, which if any of these are ways that you mother yourself. So which are ways that you mother yourself? Maybe it's by driving to meet a deadline, nailing everything on your punch list for that day or week, setting up a concrete schedule for weekend activities, winning the sale you've been chasing, analyzing the trajectory for surpassing the competition in your industry, weighing and measuring yourself daily to chart progress on your new eating exercise program. We'll give you a second, make sure everybody's great. Okay. All right, so it looks like we have a three-way tie on this one with the top three. And we can share the results there, yeah. 63% on the first top three. All right, so the driving to meet a deadline, getting everything done on your to-do list, setting up the concrete schedule and weekend activities. That's great. All right, well, we're gonna do another one. So we're gonna take a look at another set of possibilities for ways that you can mother. So which of the following ways you mother yourself in this list? So Robin's gonna put up a new list. So which of these ways do you mother yourself? So take a look at this list and check off any or all that apply. Sharing your concerns about a vulnerable topic with a friend. Gathering needed COVID items on the internet. Planning a drive-by birthday parade for your coworker. Following your gut on a significant career move. And you might not have done this, but it might be a way that you know he's hurt your feelings. And creating a vision for business that would support women in their careers. Okay, I know some people have gotten on in the last little bit, so welcome all of my newcomers. Wonderful. All right, let's show the results to this one. right, so the clear winner on this list was the sharing your concerns about a vulnerable topic with a friend. So that's interesting. All right, we can take that poll down, Robin. And first of all, we're going to have some time to discuss this, but anything anyone noticed about these two lists or thoughts or reactions you had in general, and then we'll give you some time to talk about it. You can come off mute or put in the chat if there's anything you notice right off the bat.
I didn't pick one from the first list because I felt like it was doing, and so mothering embodies like being, like the opposite of doing.
I noticed myself feeling a little bit guilty or ashamed of the ways that I did the things on the first list. Oh, I definitely do that, and I don't know that I'm proud that I do that.
Right. Okay. Good. No, this is great. These are great. All right. So I'm getting a gist that there were some feelings that we had about the two different lists, reactions, some thoughts, and I wanted, before we process it too much or say too much about it, we're going to do our first breakout. So if you've been on Zoom and you've done a breakout room, I just want to say a couple things about it because not everybody has done this. So you're going to get put into a room. You don't have to do really much other than accept an invitation, but about 3 of you, we're going to do about 3. Some of you might have a 4th in your group. And in a moment, Robin's going to get that started, and you'll just click on the link that says, take me to my breakout room. I forget what it says, but it says something like that. So you just hit and accept the invitation to the breakout room. And then you'll be in there for 4 minutes. And in those 4 minutes, I want everybody to have a chance to share. We're not necessarily going to time each person, but that everybody has shared some feeling, reaction, thought that you had about your answers, the two lists in general. What got stirred up for you just by looking at those lists. And then there'll be a warning that says, in 30 more seconds, you're going to come back to the main room. Just wait for the Zoom to bring you back because we want you to have the whole time together, in your small group. So you don't need to click the return to the main room. It'll automatically bring you back. Okay, so Robin, if you want to go ahead and get people in their rooms, it'll take just a moment. Welcome back. Okay, was this anybody's first breakout room experience? Yay.
My first one, I left because I was too uncomfortable. So this is my second.
The first one you stayed in. Right? All right. Well, I love that. That's awesome. Okay, so I would love to hear from a few of you. What did you come up with? What were some things that you noticed or got to? And I'd love to have a couple shares from you.
So this is Lena. Can I share?
Yeah, please.
So I thought that the first list was quite masculine and the second list was quite feminine. And I checked off it, for me it was more of the things that I checked off in the second list. But during my discussion, during our group discussion, the question was posed, well, which skills put food on the table? And I started thinking, which of the masculine skills I should be developing more or integrating more,
right?
Along these lines.
That's great, Lena. No, you're getting.
Yeah, similar to Lena, we were also talking about how I got really stuck on that first question where I was reading the sentence as, what type of mothering do you do out of the list below? And then there were words in that list like nail and drive. I kept reading the question again and again. I'm like, yes, I do those things. I'm a regulator and I'm a little bit of an A type, so I really do. Those things really push my buttons and make me feel happy when I do those things. But I would not put mothering and those things together. I thought, and then the second, like everybody said, it was a relief to read. I was like, oh yeah, these are things, the feminine things that I do. And God, if we didn't have our friends right now, we would all up in the door, not survive. surviving. So yeah, that was what we discussed.
That's perfect. Anyone else have anything to add? Because then but I think you're getting it. This is exactly what I, kind of hope to tease up and stir up is, because neither of the lists are bad or wrong, but yes, one list is more the masculine values, and the second list is has more woven in it of the feminine values. And there's no right or wrong in them, but the second list might have felt better. That might have felt like more natural, but I still, value the other list. But where do I overvalue the first list? And, where do I hang out in that one so much? Ooh, these do feel good, but I don't really do them that much, or, what I might think, enough. And that's kind of part of the problem, right? And one of the things we're going to talk about is, the first list without the second, it isn't working, and the second list without the first isn't working. And we want to dig into that some more because, in and of themselves, they're beautiful things, but when one's more valued than the other, and in our world they are. And in our world currently, the masculine list and the masculine values are overvalued. And we're in a pretty significant state of imbalance with masculine and feminine values. And we want to dig into that some more. And there's someone I want to share about and introduce someone who I've read a little bit about, and I still actually want to read more, but what I know of her, I'm very inspired by, because her name is Margaret Cochran, an enormously successful entrepreneur. She started 5 successful businesses on her own. I don't know how many books she's written now. I think at the time I'm going to talk about, she had probably written at least a few books on leadership, and so really had already done a lot in her world and the world. And she was at a EY, Ernst & Young World event. I think she was getting an award. And it was at this moment in her career that she came to a really big realization. And I think there was somebody that, described her as, like a go-getter and driving and like, wow, what a tough woman you are. And, and look what you've accomplished. And I think, her children heard that, and her children said, wow, Mommy, you're really tough. And she was like, is that really like how I want to be known, that I was tough? And she really started to think about it, and she started realizing that something didn't feel right for her. And she had been really successful in the business world, but she didn't really feel all like right with it. And what was out of line for her is she realized that she was winning at a man's game, and winning at a game that was designed for and by men. And okay, great, she was able to do that. But now she was starting to feel like she didn't want to go to her grave and be known as the tough woman who accomplished a lot. So she started expanding that and really bringing in, and what does it take to be a feminine leader? And that's what we want to look at tonight, is we want to play with changing the game. She realized she had gifts that she didn't value or access. And these ramifications for each of us individually in the world are really big. We really have overvalued the masculine and undervalued the feminine, or we just haven't paid enough attention to it. So we want to, for a moment, just think about some of the things that are happening in the world, particularly easy at this time to think about what are some things that bother you? What are some problems that we have going on in the world? And you can write them in the chat, or if you think of any, you want to say them out loud. What are we seeing in our world today that really bothers us? Just really isn't okay. Racism, lack of compassion. Yep. Yeah, poverty. What else? The earth. Our earth is sick. We're really seeing that at this time. I won't get into politics, but we'll definitely say imbalanced policies and politics. Pollution, leadership is a huge problem, and what we are noticing, in all of this is that what's particularly come to light, people are sick, medicine to fix problems, not prevent problems, isolation. Yes. So all of these, are happening, and we're seeing it more and more because of this imbalance. This imbalance is showing up in a lot of ways, and we're seeing, and I love at this time that what's coming to the forefront is so much more data and really clear evidence that the women in leadership are showing. Did I just freeze? Can you guys hear me? Okay, good. I have a little bit of an internet concern for tonight, so if I do like bounce in and out, I hope not, but I'm a little nervous about it. Yes, so the women that are showing up in leadership are the ones that are having the success in dealing with the pandemic. I mean, across the board, the most successful countries and areas where women are taking, and that's because of what we're going to talk about. And we want to talk about what some of these upsets are and how this is happening and why it's happening. So I want to share just a couple of visuals to bring this point home about our, it's going to take me a sec. So this image, yin and yang, this is us when we have the masculine and feminine in balance. This is a symbol that we use for, to see and feel tranquil. It has, order. There's chaos within the order, but there's, a beautiful synergy of these two energies. And what we've been talking about, these ills of the world and the masculine out of balance with the feminine is really causing a distortion in this harmony. And when you think about it in an image sense, it's going to look more like this. The yang, which is more the masculine energy, is way more prominent with that little bit of feminine. And then this little bit of feminine down there with even over masculine in the middle. How do you feel looking at this image? Like what, any, sense, like a feeling that comes up? And feel free to say it out loud because I'm not looking at the chat right now.
I feel like I'm being eaten up.
Yes. It's kind
of like Pac-Man.
Yep, like Pac-Man's gonna just scoop up the rest of it. And it's been getting worse and worse. And I think one of the gifts of this time is that we're seeing this even more clearly. So just to look at it from another image, when we look at it masculine, feminine, we want to look at some of these qualities, these qualities of the masculine, all good in and of themselves, but when they overtake, what gets squished are things like our intuition, our insight, our receptivity, our care, social relations, responsibility, our emotions. These are the things, and these are the things that are supporting the world right now in the areas that are doing better. So I just think it's a really powerful way for us to start grappling with this. So let's talk about that for a minute. So we just started talking about these differences in masculine and feminine. I just want to name some of them so we get some of them out there because we saw them in the list. I just named some there, but let's just name some more masculine values. What are some things that are more in the masculine in values?
Thinking, doing.
Yep, thinking and doing.
Analyzing,
Yep. Projecting. Yep.
What is it when it's A to B? Straight line, linear.
Linear, right? More linear.
That's a good one.
Yep. Results, building.
direct,
Destination.
Destination. Yep.
goals, very
Chart
direct,
boards.
Chart boards. Yeah. Direct. Great. And I think, Helena, you were saying that at the beginning, like those words, maybe it was you, I'm sorry if it wasn't, just in those words, like nail it, I'm going to nail that deal, I'm going to close it, all of those that were in there that are there too. And you can feel it, right? Like the energy, you can feel that driving energy just as you say them. So let's switch now and let's talk about what are some of the feminine values. how would we describe some of those? What are those like?
Receptive.
Receptive.
Yeah, open, inviting.
Yep, inviting.
The journey.
The journey, yep.
Collaboration. Win-win.
Win-win. Yep.
Circular, like, yeah.
Inviting.
Never ending.
Inviting, never ending. These are great. Yep, okay, good. Well, I love this. You guys are getting it. So we want to make these distinctions and see, okay, you know, we're aware of them, we're clear. Why is it so hard to embrace them and live them and have the force feel so conflicted around them? And we want to just talk about that, you know, for a little bit here. So how did we get here? All right. So our culture, you know, when I do a lot of the work that I do in rewriting the Mother Code, a couple of ways that I always want to look at it when wanting to like look at a new paradigm, but we really have to look at like the current paradigm and the context in which we're existing in now. And we look at it through a couple lenses, like a cultural lens, like what's the culture say about this, and then what does my childhood or my upbringing or my wiring say about it. So first we want to spend a little bit time in the culture aspect of it. So our culture has everything to do with how we do or don't embrace our inner mother. And it's something that I think is really well described in an author that I really loved this book as I get to it. The Alphabet versus the Goddess, the conflict between word and image. So there's lots of ways that we can look at, like, how did we get to where we are now with this such a huge imbalance? Well, it hasn't always been this way, you know. And if we look at, you know, going way back, like 30,000 years, this is an image of the Venus of Willendorf. Back then, you know, things were an oral tradition. What we're finding is, you know, they may have been more matriarchal, but not necessarily. There were a lot of cultures way back then that were egalitarian. You know, both masculine and feminine were more honored, and, you know, it was a whole very different way that we operated. We saw the value in both, you know, what was masculine and what was feminine. And what Schlein outlines in his book is he really saw a very distinct marking point. And that marking point came about 5,000 years ago with the introduction of language and the alphabet. So when the alphabet came along, it was, I almost want to say instantaneous, but it did practically happen overnight with the onset of written language, because no longer did we have icons and storytelling and things that were more right-brained. Language brought us to a completely left-brain world, and it shifted the balance. And it shifted us from matriarchy to patriarchy with misogyny following. Now, what we're hoping is that we have seen a change even in the last 100 years, 50 years, you know, and part of it is the onset of the internet, where we're getting back to more images, more ways for both brains to work. And, you know, when we look at 5,000 years of a way of being and of the feminine getting, you know, really squashed, and that image that we had, you know, more and more, you know, women, you know, surviving, but their power really being squashed. And I will say throughout this that this isn't a man did it to women. This is a co-creative thing that happened here. But our brains changed. But we're hoping that we're moving in the right direction, where we can value both of these sides of the brain, our left brain and our right brain, you know, and see the creativity and the flow and the beauty of our right brain, and the more of the left brain, like we talked about, with logic and directness and clarity. That, you know, the two of these together is something that's, you know, really, really beautiful. Now we're going to spend a little bit, let me just get my screen back and get all of you back. So that's great. so we got very focused on goal achievement. We forgot why we're doing what we're doing. We only have to-do lists. We don't have to-be lists, right? And neuroscience is showing us, and we do a whole presentation. We could spend hours on the neuroscience of the difference between men and women's brains, which we're not going to get into here, but maybe I'll do it as another webinar, because it's so fascinating and so interesting to see how we get tripped up by not understanding, each other's physiology and how we're different, how we think differently. Women are more empathetic. We hear differently, we see differently. With that singular focus, I'll name a couple that were like game changers in the relationship with my husband. And one of them was finding out that when a man is focused, like if he were sitting here and he's focused on this Zoom call, he is basically 70% deaf. Yeah. So if I'm standing next to him or behind him and I'm saying, Rich, can you like whatever, and he doesn't pay attention to me. Yeah, Nancy's getting it, right? So then I'm all hurt. Like why is he ignoring me? And we had these huge fights about that, but it didn't give him a pass to find this out. But I realized if I want his attention, when he's focused on anything other than me, I have to get in front of his face. I literally have to like see him have him shift away and get his focus, or slip a note there, say, I need to talk to you, let me grab you later. Like, we have to work with this, right? That one was just such a huge one. And then I'm going to name this one just because I think it's fun, but women have, this is all evolution, obviously, hunter, gatherer, right? So our sight is different. All of our senses are different. And our feelings are different, but our senses and our sense of sight, women have this really broad, beautiful peripheral vision. Like I'm looking at all of you, but I can see like a really wide range here, right? I can see kind of all around. Well, they don't see that, right? They just see ahead. So, when studies were done and they asked men and women, they asked them who ogles, checks out the opposite sex more, men or women. Well, both said men, but the truth is, no, the men all said men. Women said, well, I think it's probably me. I just get away with it because men have to like shift their vision. I can check out this guy right next. I could be talking to you, but see this guy next to me and be like, oh, there's this cute guy next to me. But no one sees that I'm doing that. I don't know. It's just maybe a side one, but I think it's fun. But this is an aspect of us as women that we haven't valued, right? We can go into it more, but I mainly in our time together want us to get that. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I just got direct. I just saw this note that Shireen said. It seems like women do both masculine and feminine, but I don't see many men pulling off both. But the ones that do, I find myself attracted to. I want to spend time. Well, that's beautiful. Yes, we do want. And that's something we're going to get to is, the ways when men integrate some of the feminine, women integrate some of the masculine, it works really beautifully. And we're both more attractive because we're being ourselves. So I think that's a really good point. But because our world so doesn't honor the feminine, men don't care. Like they don't feel like they need to try and honor the feminine values because they're not valued. And, that's a big thing that's happening. And another thing that kind of gets us tripped up is, this feminine thing about being, more in the being versus doing. Well, our brains are also wired such that we can't be in both at the same time. We're either doing or we're being, and that can be a problem. But when we know that, and we know that we have to plan for and schedule our being. You know, we have to work at it. So it's just another way, all these things we're gonna to work on and talk about. So I want to give you all, I just talked and, you know, shared a lot about this. We're gonna do another one of our breakouts, all right? So we're gonna get all of you into a breakout again. And we're gonna have 3 you know, talk about yourself as much as possible, about what this means to you, for yourself, and other minutes sharing, and get everybody having a chance to share. And I'll see you back in a few minutes. Welcome back.
Hi.
Glad to have you back. So, share from your time together.
I'll share. Something I was just thinking about is, like, as many times as I've heard this, it's always just such a good reminder that there are differences. And, like, I was sharing that I'm in a very corporate work situation, and that's obviously where I spend the majority of my week every week. And I've, especially since we've been in quarantine, like, I've just been noticing feeling so tired at the end of my days or at the end of my week. And, like, it just occurred to me that, like, oh, because I'm doing something that isn't totally natural. And it doesn't mean I'm not good at it, or it's not like a good, but it's just like, oh, no wonder this is just not, I'm not using my feminine as much as I could. Yeah.
No, that's great, Helena, thank you. Anyone else want to share?
I'll share. So what stuck with me was the to-do list versus to-be list. And I thought, oh my God, you know, I so know my relationship with to-do list. I am angry at it. I resent it. I fight with it. I sometimes, you know, laugh about it. But I don't have a relationship with my to-be list. I didn't have a to-be list. And I thought, oh, what a wonderful adventure would be, like a part of mothering myself would be to compile this to-be list and a picture. And I'm going back to my lab work and mother collage, actually, right now, the picture that emerges, right? Different ways to be. But to expand that, because I want, there is a range, and I want masculine skills too. So expanding that to mother collage and including masculine in it too. Yeah.
Love that. And for those, Lena was just sharing about, she was in a program at the Wright Foundation called our Transformation Lab, where we have assignments to help us integrate and bring forth the work that we're talking about. And I love that particularly because it's a collage that we make of images of an empowering mother. And, you know, so we can wire, whatever aspects of that we miss for ourselves, we can wire in. Well, beautiful. So who had the best breakout group? I think I did. Very good. I know you all had great breakout groups, and I love it. And that's what I want for us, is this sharing and this talking about these kind of topics is so important for all of us. And I want to share, if it's okay with you, just a little bit about my journey and how I've, you know, worked with this material and in my life. Just, you know, and I'm sharing it. It's vulnerable, but I like to share it because I want to give something for people to kind of think about themselves, something you know, maybe resonate with, or, you know, how this, you know, kind of strikes you. And just a slice of it that I want to share, you know, tonight is around my feminine journey. And, you know, I really came into the work at the Wright Foundation, having just recently graduated from college. I was a couple years out, and, you know, my appearance I might look from the outside as somebody who has, you know, kind of is more honoring of the feminine. That's because, you know, I was trained in many things in the feminine, you know, around aesthetics and beauty and things like that. I didn't value it. I did overvalue the masculine. I went to an all-women's college. I didn't really know how to take advantage of that, St. Mary's. I'm saying that out loud, so because because Helena went there too. But I didn't really know how to, I was attracted to it, but I didn't really live it fully there. And I was a finance and accounting major. I needed to get a job and I needed to make money, but I really liked psychology and English, but that wasn't of value. So I graduated, got a good job, and met what would be my future husband. And when we met, I figured, okay, this is great. I had this job, but gosh, probably now I don't need it because I found this guy who's, handsome and intelligent and financially secure. So now I could, instead of continuing to develop my masculine, which could serve me in honoring my feminine, I married it and stopped developing it myself. So then, when I got engaged, my boss at the time said, hey, I really think it would be great if you did some premarital coaching. So long story short, we did. And it was in there that I was really awakened to the fact of how much I had not been honoring my feminine. And it started a whole journey in my growth work. And this beautiful picture I had of thinking I had it all made was really empty and superficial. And, I could say a lot more about it, but I'm super grateful for the journey my husband and I have been on. It's not easy. It's been a struggle in a lot of the ways, but I see that, me honoring the feminine of my desire, to have us learn and grow together is what brought us on that path. I strayed from the path a number of times. It's what got me into the grad school and doing my doctorate so that I really could harness more of the masculine so I could be out in the world sharing what I'm sharing tonight, around feminine values, around what's important. Somewhat because I lived it, somewhat because I didn't live it, but I, no matter what, really value and see that it's important. And particularly, one other thing I'll say in this time of COVID is that I knew that this was a time of disruption, and that if I were to make good use of it, that meant us really digging in on our relationship and allowing, instead of just trying to get through it, be in it as fully as possible. So we, have done 5 family sessions, several couples sessions. I upped my own personal growth so that I could really maximize, and instead of trying to make it easier, make it harder, but not from a growth standpoint. And it's really been paying off, but it's really uncomfortable. And it's kind of what I want to say, somewhat in closing. There's a few more things. We got so excited about so many of the things that we were talking about. With your permission, I may go a few minutes over. I understand that if you have to leave right at 7:30, I won't be offended because we said we would end at 7:30, but I'd love it if you could stay a little bit longer because there's a few more things I want to share. And I'm doing the raffle, of course. So, what I saw in that is that this is a journey, and this feminine journey is a powerful one, but it's not an easy one because it's a fight, and it's a fight within ourselves. It's something that, isn't honored. So we really have to be the ones in the forefront honoring it. I'm going to stop there. Any thoughts or reactions, hearing really just a snippet of my story, and then we're going to go in with some closing things. Yes, really to see it as a journey and not a destination. And that was something that came up really powerfully actually in my coaching today, because partly I, set up all these coaching sessions because I was so anxious to miss the opportunity and do this COVID thing right. And it was Dr. Bob who was like, you're getting some great stuff started. That's all you need to focus on. This is launching a whole new journey for you. And I just, had so many tears about that because I don't have to get it all done right now. But I can be focusing more on the being than the doing at this time, even though it's a time that it's really easy to get stuck in the doing. So this awareness, of our gaps, and this awareness and just telling the truth. Where do I overvalue the masculine? Where do I find myself on this continuum? It's really what I wanted to focus on and get us to, tell the truth about tonight, tell the truth to ourselves and to each other about tonight so that we can be on this journey with our eyes wide open. I was excited to talk about this because we had our Women's Essential Experience weekend a couple weekends ago. And, it's something I do every year, but every year I'm just shaken by, the need and the power and how important this is in our world. So when we go back to that list at the beginning, I want you all to think about, it's the combination of the items on those two lists. So if you think about that for yourself, what does it look like to bring those together? If we were looking at the getting this done, but then the being, and it's putting them together that we can really maximize and have this work for us. So, as we're closing up, I want you thinking about some way, that you can put the two of those together, even if it's saying that, okay, I'm going to do a to-be list. So I actually wrote, if I give an example from list above, I can let my husband know that what he did hurt my feelings and ask for what I want going forward. Because a lot of times in the feminine, it doesn't have the doing with it. So I can create a vision for a business that would support women in their careers and set a date by which I will have my first client in that. So when we see those synergize together, we really get the power of it. And what we call that is using the masculine in service of the feminine. And, I have the privilege of being able to share this with women, in my coaching. And it's something I'm immensely grateful that I have the opportunity to do in coaching, in these kind of environments. And I'm ever so grateful for it. And I wanted to put up a couple of pictures because I think it's fun to see some of them. We close up. Well, here, I just so we saw these together, the feminine and masculine. When you see them in their complements of each other, I just think it's so powerful looking at that. And then I get to share about Megan Taylor. So Megan is a woman I coached. She's single. She was, when I met her, single and in her 20s and a new college grad, really trying to discover who she was. She went on this feminine journey, and I had the opportunity to coach her in really looking at what it was going to take to mother herself, in her relationships, things that then she said, about that, and working with me were, around those such things as, I really supported her in discovering her inner self and herself fully as a woman. And then Sanjita, I had the opportunity to coach her, through her mothering, 4 kids. She lived in a very masculine paradigm, but was able to really support her in looking at what it meant to bring that into relationship with her husband, and then bringing her children into the world, navigating that. So she says some really beautiful things about what that was like for her and working together. So where to from here? So I've had this lovely privilege of looking at all of you on the screen in this too short of time together, where we've been exploring familiar and new territory. Helena said it this isn't new, but it feels new. And I think that's really important. Seeing your eyes light up, seeing, people engaged in the material is really a beautiful thing. And you might be thinking, okay, I'm ready to start mothering myself. Yes, I'm ready to sit in that uncomfortable space, because as I shared, it is uncomfortable space of the unknown. What important decisions around mothering myself come up. And I don't want to default to what I think my family or society want me to do. How do I make the choices that are really going to allow me to put my own dreams in the forefront, and recognize that it's only when I mother myself that I can really mother others fully. And that's a lot to think about. But how do I do that? How do I show up in my life from a place of curiosity? How do I live more in accordance with my feminine values, so I can, really live this life that I'm really wanting to live? And I'm going to ask you, raise your hand if any of these things that you're thinking about in your life. That's great. Well, I hope that some doors were opened in our short time together, and it would really, really, really be my distinct honor to be your guide, to be a co-voyager, to support you, with this and through this, and developing mindset, your tools, skills, and behaviors to live this way to its fullest. Really embracing a new paradigm to bring out the power of your inner mother. And, why would we do that? Well, all the things that you named at the beginning, when we work that way, we find out how to deal with the stress in our life from a feminine way. We get the nourishment and satisfaction, and out of that, we cultivate careers that are satisfying. We mother our children, or the things that we're mothering, in a way that's more nourishing and satisfying. And I think all of that's really beautiful. And ultimately, we want to have more joy and fulfillment in our lives. I don't know, I do. Hopefully, you all do too. So, what I'm super excited about, that tonight was the night that I get to share, and it's something I'm going to, be putting out in the world. This was something I was going to do in the fall, but I decided, putting my masculine in service of the feminine, let's not wait. I think this is an even more right time to do something that I've been dreaming about and wanting to put together for over a year. And it's something that I'm calling the Mother Code Collective. What's the Mother Code Collective, you may ask? And how do we get there? Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it, and I hope you're as excited as I am. So the Mother Code Collective is a 4-week exploration into self-love, self-prioritization, and self-actualization, wherever you find yourself on the mothering paradigm and in this new paradigm that we're living in. It's something that I want, and I'm going to share some aspects of it just to get an idea, like the structure. So this is the masculine of it. It's a 4-week immersive experience, weekly for 4 weeks, 90-minute group coaching calls, limiting it to 15 people, and then included in is 30 minutes of coaching with me. It's going to start July 10th and go through July 1st. One step further, if you'd like to add on more coaching with me, that's an option that you'll have also. So what it entails, we're going to dive into elevating and really creating your vision for your life, embracing your inner mother. We're going to look at the myths that get in the way of that and how important our emotions are. We're going to talk about the blocks and the soft addictions that we have. And then in week 4, we're going to make it real, and you'll have a really solid, beautiful plan. But most of all, to me, honestly, it's an excuse to be together as women and to really support each other. Yes, I love being a guide in it, but mostly I love being on the co-voyage with all of you. A little bit more of the masculine in it, just so you can think about this, and then we'll do our raffle, and you can win our fabulous prizes. But out of this, what I really want is you to have a fresh vision for your goals, your aspirations. You'll get, of course, research-backed models and tools to immediately apply in your life, but the community of women, like I talked about, and a plan to live more fully as that woman. Option 1 is valued at $1,600 if we took it at full value. The cost is $795. If you jump in and decide to play with me before midnight tonight, it's 15% off at $675. And option 2, the adding on of the extra coaching, is valued at the $1,750, and the cost is $995. Tonight by midnight, it's $845. So I know all of that is kind of that masculine stuff that we have to think about, but it's important. I think one of the hardest things women do is do things for themselves and put themselves as a priority. So partly this is, I'm not going to call it a test, but just the thinking about it and what comes up for you when you think about investing in yourself, investing time at this time, investing money at this time, listening to me sell my coaching program, all of that's coming up is great because it puts us right in the center of our discomfort. And if anything, that you can walk away just being with, what that stirs up. But of course, really in the end, I would love for you to join me. And we're going to give you a moment to go in the chat. So I don't want you to go there now, but this will be how you sign up tonight if you decide to do that. But for the raffle, and where you can say, hey, maybe I do want more information or just to hear a little bit about it, but also you have the opportunity to sign up for our free More Life Training weekend when you fill out this raffle. Otherwise, you can just put your name and information and still be part of the raffle. So no matter what, I'd love everybody to put their name in the raffle, because then I'd love the opportunity to possibly win the free coaching session with me. So I'm going to give you a moment to just go to the rightfoundation.org/raffle. You can, I think it's probably going in the chat where you can click on that link.
And I don't exactly know why we have lost Gertrude's screen, but it is www.rightfoundation.org/raffle, RAFFLE. So I hope you love Gertrude as much as I do, because she's amazing. And I love the whole concept around mothering yourself, because holy cow, that's absolutely what we all need. Especially with so many crazy things going on in the world right now. We really truly need someone to mother us. So enjoy. Thank you so much for being here with us. And I will see you next week for our very last week together. Bye.